Good evening, Doom Refreshers. This is the 8-hour workday with Rex Haymarket, where every crisis somehow becomes your bill and their bonus.
Tonight's story is not really about peace.
It is about whether the people steering this thing toward the cliff have finally noticed the price of impact. Because after days of escalation, the United States and Iran appear to have found something very rare: an off-ramp.
And that matters because when powerful people talk about resolve, somebody else usually gets stuck with the cost.
You call that cost fuel, you call it food, you call it shipping. You call it one more bill showing up in your life from a crisis you did not create. So here is the hinge of the day: Iran's 10-point proposal. Trump treated that proposal as enough of a basis to pause bombing for 2 weeks and move toward talks. Pakistan reportedly helped broker the pause, and the whole thing is tied to de-escalation around the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistan reportedly helped broker the pause, and the whole thing is tied to de-escalation around the Strait of Hormuz.
That is one of the most important oil choke points in the world. Now that is the visible story.
The deeper story is this: both sides seem to have found language vague enough to stop the immediate slide into a larger war, without either side publicly admitting defeat. And in diplomacy, that is often what an off-ramp looks like. Not trust, not reconciliation, not peace, just two armed states looking over the edge, and deciding the fall may cost more than the posture. Now, why is this not the end of the story? Because the core disputes are still there. Washington still wants enrichment ended, it still wants missiles curbed, it still wants Iran's regional proxy network rolled back. Tehran, meanwhile, appears determined to preserve enrichment and defend its core red lines. So let's be clear, this is not a surrender document. It is not a clean peace plan.
It is not some neat final settlement. What we appear to have is a partially disclosed framework.
But both sides are already spinning for their own audiences, and that is why the triumphalism should be ignored. Trump world wants to call this victory. Tehran wants to imply Washington bent toward its terms. Both sides want their own audience to think the other side blinked. But the more useful truth is simpler. Both sides found a formula to stop the bleeding for 2 weeks. And in a crisis this dangerous, that is not nothing.
It is not the end of the woods, it is the trailhead.
And that distinction matters because too much commentary treats every pause like resolution. And that distinction matters because too much commentary treats every pause like resolution. And that distinction matters because too much commentary treats every pause like resolution. Every ceasefire becomes peace. Every diplomatic opening becomes problem solved. Every ceasefire becomes peace. Every diplomatic opening becomes problem solved. And then, when violence returns, markets jump, and the region reminds everyone that nothing was actually settled. People act surprised. They should not be. The region is still burning around the edges. Violence is still rippling across connected fronts. The distrust is still enormous, and the economic danger does not disappear just because the headline cools off for 48 hours. That is why this is an off-ramp, not an ending, a real chance to stop the immediate slide into something worse. But only a chance, because an off-ramp only matters if somebody takes it. And history is full of states that build exits they are too proud, too cynical, or too fragmented to use. This is the part that matters most. What forced movement here was not conscience, not morality, not a sudden respect for human life. It was cost, the cost of a wider war, the cost of a harder-to-control region, the cost of instability in Hormuz, the cost of trying to manage a geopolitical fire in full view of global markets and exhausted populations. In other words, the logic of escalation ran into the logic of price. And price, unlike patriotism, tends to concentrate the mind. And as usual, if this goes wrong again, the first people to feel it will not be the men making speeches. And as usual, if this goes wrong again, the first people to feel it will not be the men making speeches. It will be workers, Consumers, families already stretched thin, countries dependent on imported fuel. People who have never set foot in a war room, but somehow keep receiving invoices from one. That is the permanent obscenity of crises like this. Power talks about credibility. You get the surcharge. So no, tonight's story is not that peace has broken out. It hasn't. The story is that the machine finally found the brake pedal. Whether it uses it is another question entirely. So here is the truth beneath the headline. Iran's 10-point proposal does appear to have opened a real diplomatic path. So here is the truth beneath the headline. Iran's 10-point proposal does appear to have opened a real diplomatic path. That path is fragile, it is incomplete, it solves nothing by itself, but it is the first clear sign in days that the logic of war has met resistance. Not from wisdom, from cost. Like and subscribe to Clock In tomorrow. Find the static, mind the spin, and mind who profits.